Adriel, let's go to an email question. This came in from Emilia. She says, "Hi, I wanted to know if there's any other historical evidence that Christ was really born other than the Bible. I've heard some atheists claim that he might have been entirely a myth."
Mhm. Amelia, thank you for that question. That's not a very popular view even among atheists, this idea that Jesus didn't really exist, that the whole thing was just a myth. And the reason it's not a popular view among atheists or agnostics or people who reject Christianity altogether is because of the weight of the historical evidence. The Gospels themselves are historical documents. Now, we can say, well, we don't want to accept the Gospels because they're biased, that kind of a thing. But the reality is we have so many New Testament manuscripts of these writings, the Gospels, what we see in the New Testament epistles, and that carries weight. And we don't only have the testimony of the apostles, the writers of the Gospels. You do have extra-biblical sources, non-Christian sources that talk about the existence of Jesus. Sources like the Jewish historian Josephus and others. There's the Roman historian Tacitus. And so I think that we have plenty of reason to believe with confidence that Jesus really existed. And so much so, in fact, that it's not really something that's debated. Even some of the harshest critics of the Christian faith would not go as far as to say that Jesus was just a myth or that he didn't really exist. Bart Ehrman, for example, he's a New Testament scholar. He's known for being pretty critical of Christianity and disagree with him on so many things, but he's written about this. I mean, he's just said, look, that the idea that Jesus didn't really exist, that it was just a myth being made up, that just is not supported by the data, by the evidence. We have not only these historical documents, but you also think of the testimony of the early church, the early Christians who claimed to see Jesus, in fact, eyewitnesses to his resurrection. You read about this in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And so many of them were willing to go to the grave for this message, for this claim. In other words, if they were just making it up, if this whole thing was just a myth, we didn't really see Jesus rise from the dead, would they really, can you imagine, would they really have been willing to lose everything? Friends, family, money, homes, their own lives. So many in the early church were persecuted, were killed even for this profession of faith, for claiming that Jesus Christ was alive, that he rose from the dead, and that there's salvation in no one else except him. Would they really have gone through all the trouble if it was just a hoax, if they were just making it up to get power? I've heard this before, this objection to Christianity. This was the invention of a group of people who wanted control, who wanted power, who wanted to make money. You think of those televangelists that you see on TV these days, just sort of peddling religion in order to make money and to take advantage of people. That's what this was in the first century. But the reality is, here's the truth. The historical reality was the early followers of Jesus, those who proclaimed the gospel of Christ, really didn't gain much at all. In fact, they lost so much for that claim. This is why Jesus said, if anyone would follow me, let him take up his cross and come after me. Let him deny himself. And that's what happened. That's what we're seeing. That's what we continue to see today. And so there was all this evidence, this historical evidence, and also just the fruit of what took place after everything there, Christ's death and resurrection. And so we have a lot of reason for confidence, Amelia, and hopefully that bolsters your faith as you continue to go to Jesus in prayer, who is alive right now, interceding for his people. God bless.